Good evening, everyone. It's 6:35, and I apologize for being a little bit late, but I think we can start the meeting, reopen the hearing. Let's see, we have some things to talk about tonight, but the first thing that we must handle is of course, selecting the third member, since one of our regular number can't be with us and has missed too many meetings, so we need to pick a third from our alternates. And do any of our alternates have any?
Yeah, we are.
Right, so,
Yeah, that worked out well.
all right, so then,
I nominate.
all right, and all right, Suzanne nominate, so we nominate Dave Alberti to be our third voting member. Let's see, all in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
No thanks.
Okay. All right, so that takes care of the most important, the first thing on the list. Now, all right, so now, we're here tonight. Originally, was supposed to be here on the 10th, and I apologize to people who came out for the 10th and found that we didn't get much done except to just adjourn to tonight. Now, we have here a somewhat recent item of business I think we should probably address first, namely the request from the applicant's attorney to continue the hearing until a later date in order to give time for our consultant to take proposals for hydrogeology peer review. And that was submitted by their attorney yesterday. So obviously, we didn't have a lot of time to consider it. But anyway, the applicant, we have two present proposals. One from a company called Geoscience. Oh, no, wait, that's the applicant's peer. That's the applicant's hydrogeologist. What was the other one? So we have two proposals. Let's see, we have one from, can I print it out? There it is. All right, so one from Scott Horsley, and the other from, GAI Consultants. Now, the applicant has expressed certain concerns about each of them, namely that it believes that Mr. Horsley is biased and conflicted, and that GEI is too expensive for what has to be done. Now, so they've submitted some names. I believe Ms. McKenzie did submit some to our Mr. Driscoll this afternoon or yesterday, and so they have requested that we continue the hearing, at least that part of the hearing, until a later date to give us more time to solicit proposals. And so that's where we stand. And I think that it's important to get that resolved first tonight. That's what we're going to do before we continue on to other matters.
Mr. Chair, can I add one thing too?
Yes.
Before we
get
to the most recent extension request is, just prior to that, the applicant's counsel did agree to an extension of time that allowed us to at least try to get more proposals for the hydrogeology originally. I have the signed extension from the applicant, but I don't believe you have signed this version
No, I
yet?
was waiting until tonight.
Okay, so if I pass that along to you, if we could at least get that one signed.
All right, so let's do. I'm not sure if we did a motion the last time in order to approve the extension.
I think it would be in order.
All right, so anyway, so I'm going to be signing this a copy of this document. It's what's today's date?
Today's the 17th.
17. All right, and this extends the date until from January 5th, 2026 to February 13th, 2026, and that gives the board more time to complete the hearing. And then after that, then the board will have time to draft its decision. So anyway, so that's been accomplished, and I have to submit this to the town clerk.
Either you or me, whichever's easiest.
Oh, we'll have to just put it in our mailbox.
I'm sorry, what was the date?
So that would take the public hearing to February 16th?
13th.
13th, okay.
So, all right, so that takes care of the housekeeping issue. Now, getting back to the request for continuance. Now, I don't remember how, Mr. Driscoll, you've seen the other, you've requested solicitations from several firms, and I believe these were the only two that were able to get back to you, GEI and Scott Horsley. Now, I know Mr. McKenzie sent you some more names. Do you have any objection to contacting those people?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And I also went back to one of the original one that I contacted that said it was too tight of a time crunch. And I did send them something today saying that the applicant is willing to extend the time and asked if they were still interested in providing a proposal.
All right, so we could potentially have 2 or 3 more proposals that we could consider.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have a comment on the suggestion that we continue the hearing to, the hydrogeology portion of the hearing to allow for more proposals to be submitted?
Do you think we need more time?
I would absolutely say you need more time, because at this rate, even if you were to go with GEI as of today, they were still planning on sometime like early January to get their report in. If we're now gonna contact a few more folks and get some other proposals, in all fairness, those folks aren't even gonna start to look at this until after the new year.
holiday. Yeah.
And the applicant's counsel did agree to further extend
Okay.
the time to complete the public hearing. There was no date stated in Attorney Galvin's letter. I did speak with him earlier today, and I did propose at least through the end of March for concluding the public hearing, and he did not indicate any objection to that.
All right. Now, I would be willing to entertain that on the basis that we solicit these other firms that have been mentioned. Not that we're bound to select them or any person who submitted a proposal still gets to be the choice. So it's not like there's a quid pro quo here that we can't consider the people you object because you granted us an extension. That's not the way it could be. It'll be that, we will extend to consider these other things and give them the time to get their reports in order. So that, on that basis, I have no objection to extending the time and not selecting a hydrogeology peer reviewer tonight. So if no one else has an objection or comment, I would propose a motion that we extend the deadline to, let's see.
At the end of March.
Yes. What's the last business day in March? 27th, no, 31st.
31st.
All right, so, okay, all right, so I propose that, that we extend the public hearing completion deadline from, February 13th to March 31st, 2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, okay, all right, are you in agreement, Mr. Opchinsky?
That's fine.
Okay,
So I have a blank right here, if you and the applicant would like to sign it.
sure.
Thank you.
I just felt like we should have more time.
Yeah.
Do you mind just dating? Same for you. So Jerry, you can file too with the town.
Okay. All right, so that is the new deadline is now March 31st. All right, now I'll file that, and that takes care of this issue, right? So now that we will table the hydrogeologist peer review. I believe I've sent everyone the proposals, and I'll make sure that they are put online, since we do probably have a backlog at this point of documents that have been submitted that need to go on the website, so that anyone who's interested can see it. So that I think takes care of the most pressing matters. What else can we talk about tonight?
Well, you certainly need to continue the public hearing
Yes, of
to
course.
a date in January.
But if there's anything else we can get done tonight before, because there's been, not much, this last meeting and the prior meeting have been, pretty lacking in terms of doing
Any substance.
substance.
Right. I don't know if anyone is prepared, Mr. Chair, but one thing we had, there are two other things besides the hydrogeo that we haven't addressed. One is any comments that have come in from any town departments or boards relative to the project. Whether the board has any questions about those and/or the applicant's responses to any of those comments. And then obviously, we've got waivers. Some of the waivers are, again, going to depend on the hydrogeology assessment, but, you might want to, I don't know if you want to have any conversation about waivers now or wait. I will say that we discovered that there was a little bit of a glitch in terms of the Board of Health regulations that are posted under E-code versus what the Board of Health says are their current regulations.
Yes.
So the current regulations were shared with Mr. McKenzie, and those waivers at least need to be updated to reflect the current distances, et cetera.
Okay.
So that still needs to be received, and at some point, the board's got to go through those comments. So I don't know if the board would like to try to get into any of those tonight, or schedule future meetings where the expectation is that those will be the discussion items on the agenda.
We probably should put out a notice if we want to discuss any other issues, that the public be better informed, so we have more than a half a dozen entities here from the public. Plus, I can't get this machine to work. I gotta go up and unplug that top unit, because when the power goes out, it stays out and it doesn't go back on, so I can't post anything up there or review any drawings or informational lists. But, I mean, that's not crucial tonight.
Let me just check here for a moment. I want to make sure I got, let's see, obviously, we're a little, what we can review is somewhat constrained by the agenda that's been posted. I just need to check and make sure what it's. All right, so deadline exemption, representation, okay, all right. Let's see. Okay, so the things I put on, let's see, yeah, so beginning review of requested waivers and discussion of conditions the board may place in the comprehensive permit, potential further discussion of parking restrictions and other emergency vehicle access improvements. And I think those were the only two items on the agenda that we've not, that we could address tonight. So, now I believe the applicant has submitted their list of waivers in writing. I believe.
Yes.
I assume it's updated.
With the exception of the Board of Health
All right.
Regulations that need to be
All right,
updated.
all right. Well, we don't need to look, well, we can't review what hasn't been addressed yet, so we don't need to look at those tonight. But if there's anything, but there's pages and pages of waivers, so if there needs to be dealt with in this, then we should take care of that now. However, I need to get the paper copies from the board, the building department's office, so I have to ask for a 5-minute recess or 10-minute recess so I can get our copies. We're gonna take a look at those things.
Upstairs,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if I have a paper copy of the current waivers. I think the last one I have is maybe dated November 13th.
Right.
Is that the last one as far as we are aware?
That's the last one we've received,
Okay.
but it still needs to be updated.
So, well, so I understand that perhaps this might not be the most, the best time to talk about those, considering that there are some other outstanding issues. So I think at that point, I'm not sure if there's anything really we can accomplish tonight.
If I could add to that, I would agree. We asked for a continuation because we needed more, we wanted to afford the board and Mr. Driscoll more time to get a few more proposals for the hydro-geo peer review. So we're really not prepared to discuss waivers tonight. And I would agree with you that we still have to respond to Mr. Driscoll's most recent peer review, which one of the comments related to a waiver request pertaining to the subdivision rules and regulations section on fire protection. So we, Mr. Schumacher from our office did have some recent telephone correspondence with the fire chief about her requests for fire protection. So we're in the process of evaluating all the alternatives. As council mentioned, we need to revise. We have revised, we haven't submitted yet, but we have reviewed the Board of Health regulations. Get a new waiver request list in exemptions. Will also address the fire department, probably revise our request to provide more specificity as to what we're requesting for fire protection waiver.
All right, so essentially, you know, you're saying that you need more time to review and discuss the fire protection and also the Board of Health's posted regulations.
Right.
Well, I think that's reasonable, so unless there's anything that we're going to, you know, and I think those are two, you know, are probably the two of the most important issues. I suppose it'd probably be best hearing scheduled to deal with those issues. Now, can we have a hearing that we can, yes. Would you mind identifying yourself?
Fire Chief. The road width requirements, it's 20 feet of unobstructed access. So if people are going to park there, you have to account for parking on the street. And I'm sure our tow company would be quite happy if the signs are posted that there's no parking on the street. However, the CMR requires 20 feet unobstructed, including parking. It's mentioned right in the CMR.
All right, so essentially, if someone's parking on the curb, you got to have 20 feet of road.
20 feet of road, if people are going to be parking on both sides, 20 feet down the middle, unobstructed at all times.
Now, if this is a private road, which I believe is the contention, would that change? Should that change anything?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
Because if it's a private road, that would mean that the condo association would have to enforce those rules of parking on the curb. If they say no parking on the curb, then I think it's up to them to say, you know, fine people or tow them or do whatever, as opposed to a public way, which I think then obviously that would come under the child's permit.
I can ask our legal counsel about how the CMR labels it versus private. Very specific about parking and obstructed roadway access.
And Mr. Chair, since I'm here, I can answer. The CMR makes no distinction between a public or a private roadway. It's fire access road, 20 feet of width, unobstructed.
So we need to make sure that whatever if we approve this, whatever we approve this, is ensured that there's going to be 20 feet, even if someone parks on the side of this road.
Can I
Yep.
interject?
Sure.
Subdivision regulations only require 4-foot wide roadway. According to your subdivision rules and regulations, again, it's 26 feet wide, but if there are cars parked on both sides of the roadway, what's a car, 6 feet wide? You got 14 feet left. So your own subdivision rules and regulations wouldn't comply with a 20-foot wide. I think the intent of that regulation is for a fire access road, not a subdivision road. So that's my experience and my interpretation. So, I mean, the effective width of the roadway would need to be 20 plus 12, 32 feet wide, unless you post no parking, you know.
On the private road and the private property, I think it would be the developer's obligation to post the signs, wouldn't it be?
Oh, I guess I'm not talking about, most of the roads in Plympton are less than 24 feet wide. That's, I know, we've done a lot of work in Plympton over the years.
So you're basically saying that any subdivision in Plympton right now, if someone has a party and someone parks in the street, that they're in violation of the fire code. And I don't think the police are towing cars from subdivisions on a regular basis because people park in the front of their house. It just doesn't make sense.
So if you have a 24-foot roadway and people don't have parking spots in their driveway, and then they're parking on both sides of the street, you've blocked fire department access.
No, I'm saying just on, I think people would hope would use their common sense that they're not gonna block the roadways, but,
I
I think-
can't put people's safety under common sense.
right, but if you.
I don't work in the common sense
Right,
business.
so if you drive through any subdivision in the town of Plympton on a weekend, there are gonna be cars parked on at least one side of that roadway. I don't think,
Don't most houses in Plympton, most of the properties have parking on their property?
Well, so.
a limited amount, but if someone like,
I mean,
you
most-
you have a high school graduation party, what happens in that case? Do you start towing people's
Parking in
cars from?
people's yards. I mean, that's,
I mean, in most cases, people park on the side of the road. For that same, when the driveway, the dwelling is not sufficient to accommodate the guests. But they generally only do so on one side of the street.
We have very few, or we have no current subdivisions in this town that have this density of homes, so it wouldn't be something that we would encounter. You're gonna have houses lining both sides of the street. And so if there's a July party, you're bringing
Two
up graduation
parties, yeah, two
parties.
parties,
Two
one
of
on each
these
side of the
houses are
street,
having
yeah.
parties, you block fire department access, and this is a dead-end cul-de-sac.
Same for any other subdivision though. It doesn't matter density, you still block the road.
Or it doesn't need to be it's a roadway, any roadway.
The density is far different in this
But
development.
I don't believe it's subject to density.
And also, we have to,
It's just- you're
we have to be
just talking
concerned
about
about
the
that
clearance.
a normal road has at least two means of most roads have two means of access, so you've got at least two ways to get in, but this one only has one. So I think the safety concern might be heightened in this particular provision.
Further in the CMR, it does specify that secondary access
No,
can be
we'll
required.
just post it.
We'll post the signs.
We'll mark it no parking. Not a big deal. Then that becomes the town of Plimpton's headache to enforce it.
The original agreement was that this thing would be a private road, which means the town would not be responsible for its paving it, maintaining it, filling the potholes, snow plowing, and anything like that. These people have to do that from their own condominium association resources. But at the same time, can the town enforce no parking signs on a private road?
No, but if there's a fire, the fire department can absolutely order that all those cars that are blocking your access be towed.
So essentially, the signs are essentially a prophylactic measure, this, warning people not to do it. But if they do it, then they're gonna, one way or another, they're gonna move it.
To create some.
Possibly in the event of an emergency, yes.
Cul-de-sac.
Yes.
Why don't we offer that?
Yeah. Yeah. You can,
do we have any roads that compare to this in Halifax? I mean, Plympton?
No, we do not. The only thing that I think could even be considered something of an analog was that, those that are the 40B development, they had about 10, 15 years. Cranberry
The
Knoll.
roads are certainly wider than 24 feet. I'll measure them this week, but we have no problems with access in Cranberry Knoll.
So, I have no objection, obviously, to putting signs, requirement for signs, saying no parking on both sides of the street. But if the road is 24 feet wide, and you say your average car is 6 feet wide, that only gives you 18 feet.
the effective width of the road with 12-inch Cape Cod berm is 26 feet.
All right, so essentially, the idea is conceivable that that the truck might have to drive over the berm.
it needs to drive 2 feet into the grass right-of-way, it will to get around our parking on one side. We're also gonna look into some off-street parking as well, some designated visitor parking spaces. In the case of, in a party or something, there's another place for people to park. So if there's posted signs, no parking on either side of the road, and there's designated visitor parking spaces, you would think that cars would park
Because
there.
our plan is to have a mailbox stop up at, more towards the Carver end, where we parked to walk the site a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So at the mailbox stop, we're thinking we could create a number of visitor parking spaces there.
Probably also off the cul-de-sac.
Cul-de-sac as well.
Yeah, because I see there is some land that.
There is a
might-
dead space right there.
All right, that's it.
I'm not sure if no problem doing that.
Now, you're a little tight, when it comes to the actual line, you're a little tight, so do you have any objection? I mean, it's not the same parcel, but would there be any particular issue with having a parking area that's technically within the town of Carver for that purpose?
We'd have to address that probably with Carver.
That would be nice to have on the end.
But we have a parcel, we have a kind of a vacant parcel with no structures proposed on it between Carver cul-de-sac in Plympton and the first buildable lot. We have room there.
I see that, that's toward the
Yeah,
bottom of the page.
yeah.
Oh, okay, so, all right, so, I think we need to consider, we need to think about that a little more, but, that could, I think we might be able to resolve that issue with an update to the plan with a proposal to add some parking that might be, sufficient to, absorb, unusual impact, as long as people make sure that they, the signs does sound like a good idea. So, anyway, all right, so we kind of talked about that, which was in the agenda, I'm not sure there's really that much more we can talk about tonight. That's the way it
Quick
is.
suggestion, what about extra parking space or two on the lots for visitors? Is there comment?
What we're not showing on the.
Back on spaces and stuff.
Right. What we discussed, I think, a few meetings ago was, what we're not showing, because there was a concern about how are cars gonna back out of the driveway and get, then back all the way out into the street. What we're not showing on the current site plan is, what's probably gonna be constructed is a turnaround for each driveway. In the
So-
garage, so when a car backs out of the garage, they can back into a space.
Okay. So essentially, the driveway, instead of just being just a rectangle, will be more like a T?
Exactly.
T, yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
So there's probably a capacity there for 3-4 cars a unit with the addition of that T.
All right, so essentially the idea is you get one in the driveway, one kind of.
One in the garage.
Yeah, one in the garage, one in sort of that's the T area, maybe one or two
Yeah.
down the end of the driveway, depending on what the size of the vehicle is. All right. Yep, but I think that, might, between the signs, the extended driveway, the signs, and perhaps some extra parking area, we might be able to address this to some satisfaction.
Can I just ask a question about the T area? Is that being proposed as you back out of every driveway, or just a certain number of those along the roadway?
I think the idea would be every
Every
driveway.
driveway,
Every
yeah.
driveway?
Yeah, it looks like they have room, although some of these, get a little, you'll have to pave a little more of the lot here by the houses, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Plus that would help with things like snow removal, just push it away, so, all right. All right, well, I think we've pretty much discussed all that we can discuss now, unless anyone else has some further matter that they can raise and we can discuss now.
I just wanted to say real quick that my review letter is mostly addressed, and the outstanding issues kind of have to do with waivers, couple of things like that, so
So,
we're pretty much there.
Schedule a waiver.
yeah, I think we should schedule a hearing to work on the waivers. One thing I would ask is that, whatever you guys submit, make sure you send us a written copy, or something, physically in hand to work on in the meetings. How's that? Because I'm not sure if I have everything updated here. They might only need stuff so we don't know. So if you guys make sure that, that whatever you submit, give us a paper copy. You can always make up copies, but it's hard to find, what someone submitted 2 weeks ago in an email and says, this is the current one, or so not. All right, so waivers, general waivers, obviously, okay, so, all right, so next week, of course, will be difficult, next 2 weeks are gonna be difficult. So, the earliest week, I think, it'd probably be January 7th is probably the earliest day I think we can conceivably deal with this.
Okay. I think we need more time.
Okay? What would you suggest?
When are your meeting dates?
I mean,
Any Wednesday in January?
I mean, we can be fairly flexible, just as long as, there's enough time to get the feedback to us. If you feel that, Wednesday's convention doesn't have to be a Wednesday, it just makes more sense with some of the other boards and committees that ladies do too.
Excuse me.
So,
As I'm thinking about this, I think maybe there should be a meeting just focused on the selection of the peer review engineer for the hydrogeo. So maybe for now, we schedule it on the 7th, and if those proposals aren't in, they need a little more time, we continue based on, for that reason. People need more time, given the holiday, to submit a proposal.
What do you think about that, Greg?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough time of year, people taking vacations and not being around to prepare the proposal. And
Why don't we consider the 14th as, that should give people a little more time,
Sure.
Again, just a little more time, that's it.
That way we don't have to cancel it, get the word out.
Yes, because we don't, obviously we don't, the people who come here, we want to give them, as much, we want to do as much as possible during these meetings. And I know that, things change and, sometimes you're waiting on somebody and sometimes someone can't get back to you for whatever reason, but, we do want to make sure that,
That would just be to consider the proposal.
Discuss waivers on the 14th as well, excluding.
Should wait. I mean, there's a lot of waivers. A lot of waivers to this, waivers here have to do with Board of Health.
Could we split them up?
yes, we don't have to discuss them all.
Like,
in
maybe
one
we
evening.
can do a
Right.
few that night, just so we can.
So
get started.
let me just understand, usually this happens when the board is ready to make a decision. And,
Which we're not.
no, and I don't think you'll be ready on the 14th, so
Okay.
that's,
Okay,
I think
right.
some of the waivers are interrelated, with the road might be related to, fire protection, So, and is it your intention to, like, vote on each waiver, review each waiver and vote on them individually? Is that your intention? How, when you say review, I'm just trying to understand the process.
It can be done either way. You can vote on them individually, you can vote on them as a slate.
Now, let us say we take the individual approach, and we, say we can knock off, say, some of the less critical ones at the next meeting, just putting it out there. Now, when we vote on those, and we say, but then there's some new information that comes up and say, we need to reconsider, the waiver on X, for whatever reason, as long as I understand, as long as we haven't made a final vote on the full thing, we can go back and revisit a prior vote.
You could, that's not ideal. That's why
You wait.
typically the waivers would be
At the
right
end.
up to the very end before you're ready to make a decision.
Okay.
It's
you
one
just-
thing if you want to review the waivers and sort of ask questions, what is the need for this, or explain this to me. Are you looking for a waiver, like, for example, in some of the comments that we've shared with the applicant, we've asked them to identify the specific provisions. Is it just that you don't want to have to go to this other board to obtain a permit? Or is it that you're actually looking for specific waivers from compliance with some of the, whatever those other bylaw regulations require? So some of that kind of has to be sussed out, but you do then still have department comments to just go through and make sure all of those have been at least brought up, if not addressed.
Okay, all right, so what I think then, it sounds like the first approach of doing waivers piecemeal, voting on waivers piecemeal is not the ideal way to go. Essentially, we can discuss them piecemeal, but we should, delay all votes until we're actually ready to vote on these things as a group, as a total. And then we can go through each one and say, okay, this is what we want, we've had this discussion, everybody's had their input. We vote to do this on that night, and then say, okay, this is the total package, we confirm it, and then you've got your decision, whatever it might be. All right, so that's what we'll do, so,
We'll wait on that.
yes. I mean, I would suggest we could leave it open on the agenda item, so if we do get comments, or someone does want to speak as to a specific issue, that we allow for that in our agenda. But obviously, but we don't need to, but in terms of, if we're going to be talking about, if the main focus of that meeting is going to be selecting a hydrogeology peer reviewer, then, that's, obviously we're not going to be talking about hydrogeologic related waivers that evening. So anyway, so I just want to make that clear to people, when they come here, they should know that, that what the agenda says is a pretty reasonable guideline of what we're going to be able to talk about. So anyway, so I think that might be more for the audience than for anyone here. All right, so anyway, so we were going on scheduling, and let's see, it looked like the 14th, we will schedule the continuation of the hearing to select a hydrogeology peer reviewer, and the first and the second to, some other, housekeeping matters. If someone has more comments, we need to address something, perhaps we can do it then. I'll put something in the agenda that's fairly open-ended. But other than that, that'll be what we'll be doing on the 14th.
Mr. Chair, do you
Yeah.
want to go through the department head comments at all, just to see what's still out there? Or you just want the board to selectively raise whichever ones seem to be most pressing to them?
Question?
Sometimes even an applicant will be asked to respond to some of the department comments.
These are all online, right, the ones you're talking that.
Right.
Except for perhaps the most recent ones, yes.
Right.
Let me take a look and see what might still be needing to be uploaded, but yes. So I think we could put an agenda item on there that review of department head comments and.
For the 14th?
Yes, for the 14th. So we do that, and any department head who wants to come and speak to whatever they've submitted or wish to speak can do so at that time. All right, so that's what we plan on doing on the 14th. Now, I think then we need another meeting. We need to schedule another meeting so we can actually handle the other matter to be addressed. I think it was the Board of Health regs that we did to the updated.
And you'll want to receive the hydrogeology peer review report too.
Yes, because obviously we have their hydrogeologist report that they submitted. I'll make sure that gets updated, but obviously we need someone to review that. So at that point, at the second meeting, they should be able to.
No, they're gonna need it more than at least
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah, they're gonna need something. Because obviously they got to be hired. They got to look at it, and then they got to do whatever they do to comment and respond to it, and then they got to submit that to us. So,
Right.
so obviously that can't be the week. That's not going to be the week after.
I think 2 weeks is even.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it-
yeah, that's a little too ambitious. I would suggest February 4th for that one. All right, review of hydrogen,
I mean,
peer
you
review
gave
report.
until 3:31, so already. You gotta sign that tonight. Say February 4th.
Right. And also at that, at that hearing, you should probably be able to get, you should probably also have receipt of updated waivers to address the Board of Health's regs, I think. So we can do that too on that evening. So essentially I would call it like, review of updated waiver list. That sound right?
Sure. Is February 4th okay with you folks for waivers? Okay.
Okay, all right, so I think those are the only two, those are the most pressing matters we need to schedule right now. But there is one other thing that, before I forget, before we leave here tonight, that it's technically not, it's technically not part of this, but related, because Mr. Opachinski has an appeal that he filed, and we need to schedule a date for that. But we can do that after we adjourn, so that's a separate matter.
That's a separate issue.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's see, all right, so anyway, but regarding the two dates that, is everyone okay with the two dates that, at 6:30 here, on January 14th and February 4th? Is everyone okay with the dates?
Yes.
You guys?
Good.
All right, so then, unless there's any other further business, I would move that we continue the hearing until those dates that I've just mentioned.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Okay, all right, so that concludes the actual hearing. I mean, after the hearing is concluded for tonight. And there's just one matter I need to address with Mr. Opachinski before we can go. There is this appeal here that you filed about a week ago.
Correct.
And we have to schedule a hearing on that since it is a separate issue, since it is a separate appeal. It's not
Not part of the 40B.
not part of the 40B, but there is some relation to it since it's an earth removal thing. So I want to schedule we have to open up a public hearing, we have a separate public hearing, we have to open that up. And when it happens, of course, it has to happen within 65 days of the applicant's filing, so. But it has to, but I want to make sure it gets addressed tonight so that it doesn't get lost in the other proceedings. So the applicant filed their thing on 12/8.
Just to make sure Galvin's available.
As an appeal of the zoning enforcement officers, cease and desist order for earth removal. And he needs, and we need to have the files to be fees, so they need to open up a public hearing on it and, get it advertised, put out the hearing notice, all that stuff. So that, scheduling that, and I've asked the town administrator for your assistance on that. I'm not sure if she answered.
I haven't seen anything. I do know another colleague of mine has been working on the cease and desist matter.
All right, so someone, obviously, but I think we definitely would need town council on that one. And obviously, Mr. Opachinski's free to bring his own attorney if he wishes. So anyway,
You want to do it on the 14th?
Well, that's, the other hearing is on the 14th.
yes, we can do both at the same time.
You can?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the January hearing, right? Am I good? Hold on. I gotta publish this twice in the newspaper, so we might have enough time for that. Okay.
Oh, so you have to do two separate postings.
Yeah, we have to publish 2 weeks, but no, there's plenty, if we do it on if I set the hearing on January 14th, it has to be at least 7 days, I believe, before the hearing.
The first one has to be
First one.
14 days
14 days, all right, so,
before.
okay, so that would be.
So you'd have to make sure it's in, by December 31st.
Yes.
All right, so the newspaper publishes on Friday, so that won't be, so if I get it in for the 26th and the 2nd, that won't be an issue. But the 9th is cutting it too fine.
Let's try to call him.
So, all right, so I would propose that we schedule that hearing for January 14th.
Okay, a second.
Can, before you do that, Can I try to contact Mr. Opachensi's counsel, make sure he's available?
I might be able to save you that trouble, because I did ask him some dates he'd be available, and at least the 7th and the 14th were two that were available to him.
Okay, great, because I just
So-
texted him and I'm
Yeah.
waiting. Okay, great.
All right. Well, because this is a scheduling matter, we technically don't have to, it's not part of the open meeting law for you to talk just solely about scheduling matter, so we'll give it a tentative date of the 14th. If you get back to me tomorrow or Friday and confirm that he can be available, then I can send him the notices and such.
Would the administrator be there for this?
I'm sorry?
Would they, who's the person who did this season before? Is it the building inspector?
It's a zoning enforcement officer.
Zoning enforcement.
So Tom Milius would be,
Would he be here?
he should
for that?
be.
Okay. I
Although,
want to make sure he can be there.
oh yes, I would have to reach out to him.
Yeah.
So reach
I
out.
want to make sure he's there. Well, somebody, one of them.
And the issues are fairly cut and dried, so, so it's, if their essentialness is less important, but obviously they, well, at least on the issue, at least on one of the issues that the applicant raised, but the appellant raised, sorry. All right, well, with that, then I think in terms of what, I think we're all set, and we can adjourn this meeting. Actually, we can adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
Whatever this is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Conservation Conservation.